Welcome to visionOntv. This is the Breaking Tech channel, and we're at the Open Technology Conference in London, and we're speaking today with Naomi McAuliffe from Amnesty International about this very interesting new approach that Amnesty is taking to digital activism. Can you just define for us what digital activism is?
How we have kind of traditionally defined it is having activists out there within the UK who are willing to take action for human rights abuse that's happening. So it's sending an email or faxing or whatever. Whereas now we're kind of broadening that out to look at activists within the global south and how they can connect into the work that we're doing. So we're not just campaigning on behalf of people, we're actually involving those who are having human rights abuses committed against them, involving them far more in our strategy and our campaign and the actions that are happening.
So what kind of digital media, what kind of platforms are you using? How does this work?
We use a lot of different platforms, as well as our website, which has got a kind of straightforward emailing function on it as well. We've also got Twitter presence, and we're on Facebook, so we're using social media as well, using videos and other content online, whether it's kind of images or music or kind of voice recordings too. So trying to kind of use as much as possible in order for people to see what's going on, be able to engage with it, but also that we can have a kind of continuing dialogue with people out there, with activists out there, and so that they can also find out a whole wealth of information that we've got as an organisation as well, in quite a digestible form.
Some people, I know that campaigning's definitely moving in this direction in the north, as you call it, and that is the way that things are going, but some people would say that to apply this to the south is a somewhat elitist concept, that it's out of reach of a lot of people in the south, in areas where they don't have that sort of technology or they don't have access to electricity or something like that. What would Amnesty say to that?
Just that that's increasingly not the case, and actually it is actually about giving people the tools. So if you look at the amount of people within Africa who have got access to mobile phones, for example.
Do you know what percentage that is?
No, I know that it's certainly growing, and it's very, very different in different countries, and between urban and rural areas as well. But for example, we've had pilot studies within Nairobi in Kenya, where the vast majority of people there have access to a mobile phone. The difficulty and the challenge for us then is, yes, they can get information to us through that phone, but they don't necessarily have internet access for them to be able to see how that information is being used. So partly why I'm here today is actually to talk to open tech activists, to talk to people who know about all of this, and to give them a challenge as actually how do we overcome some of the technological barriers that people in the global south have. Yes, we can use all of this, but how do we enable them through a huge amount of kind of innovative ideas and innovative ways, and through different tools as well, connect them to the activism that we're doing in the north.
Do you literally give people some of these tools? Is Amnesty providing phones or any other kinds of technology?
Yes, we've got some of our activists, for example, who are working in what would be called slums or informal settlements in places like Nairobi. That we're kind of training them up to not only use some of the tools that are necessary, so whether that's phones, cameras, GPS devices, voice recorders, but also training them in the kind of information that they should be collecting too. And then we just have the challenge of connecting that up to the web. How do we get access to that information? How do we use it then? And then how do we present it back to them in a way that is useful for their activism? So if they're putting up information about human rights abuses that are happening within their community, how can they collect that evidence together in order to present it to the authorities to get them to do something about it themselves?
Is that an example of an actual campaign that's being used? Can you just give us is there quite a successful application that you could talk about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're working a lot on the issue of forced evictions within Africa in various different countries, and what we've done is to try and build on a process that we had before called our Urgent Action Network. So before this and it's still used now, if someone's on death row and their execution's about to come up, or we think that someone's in peril of torture, people can use the Urgent Action Network to get this out there. People can phone, they can email, they can fax the authorities to stop stop it happening. And we're trying to apply this to forced evictions now. So this is the mass eviction of people with no due process. It usually happens at 3 o'clock in the morning and bulldozers turn up, or they start setting fire to people's structures. So what we're wanting to do is what we are doing is mobilising activists within the global north to sign up to e-petitions, so we can get together, about 50,000 signatures within, a couple of hours. Also kind of phone embassies within the country, while on the ground in the country, and we've done this successfully with Ghana recently, activists can also mobilise and coordinate amongst themselves to alert everyone to what's happening, to get the media involved, to appeal to the local authorities to collect the evidence as well. And what we really want to do, although that's working very successfully, and that certainly worked in a case we had recently in Accra in Ghana, it's how we can use these two parallel systems and actually link them up together in some way, whether that would be helpful.
Do you think there's a danger that this is the next big thing, the new thing that Amnesty's in, and that the governments respond to it at the moment, but they'll get used to this digital activism, as it were, and you'll have to move on to something else quite quickly? Is there a danger of that?
I think there
sort
is
of novelty value.
Yeah, I mean, we always have to keep evaluating what we're doing. So at the moment, appealing to the UK government and getting 1 million people to sign a petition might have an impact somewhere, but they'll get over it quite quickly, and they'll be able to use different kind of PR methods around that. So we just have to keeping one step ahead of the curve on that, and that's particularly the case with digital activism, which I think is real fertile ground, particularly in the global south, is that governments there are not ready for this. Even within the UK, very few MPs even look at their emails. Certainly in other countries, they're not used to getting this kind of like barrage from. So
is that a positive thing for campaigning?
Yeah, I think it is. Okay. But I think you're right. You have to keep monitoring this, and you have to keep evaluating it. And as soon as it doesn't work anymore, you can't just do it because it's cheap and easy. And that's where you get into the whole kind of, is this actually slacktivism debate? Is it just very easy to
slacktivism?
To kind of click like on Facebook, or change your avatar, or whatever.
And you've done your campaigning for the week or
suddenly,
month.
I'm a really good person because I've done that. If it's not working anymore, then we shouldn't be using them as campaigning organisations. And the whole point of it is that it has impact for the objective of your campaign, rather than just making you feel good about taking part in it.
So I can definitely see the value for. My question, I suppose, is just around: are you getting any criticism for it? And is there a lot of excitement in the global south around this use of technology?
I think there probably is criticism, and I think not necessarily specifically for Amnesty, but I think for campaigning organisations in general, there's a lot of cynicism that I've certainly come across within the UK, of people signing petitions or sending emails and saying, really, it's making any kind of difference.
So that's sort of the slacktivism thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also part of the cynicism is born out of the fact that some of these campaigns might not work, and they might be ineffective, but also because I don't think we communicate how that fits into a much wider campaign strategy as well. Right. So while you are signing that one petition, there are also people on the ground who are advocating for this. There's also direct lobbying going on. There's also 100 of other kind of activities, and so when something does or doesn't happen, we don't communicate back to the people who signed that petition to say, thanks, this is the impact that you had, or we're not going to do this again because it obviously didn't work and we're going to try something else. Whereas instead, as it's been described to me recently, you just feel like you're shouting into an echo chamber and you're not actually getting much back. So I think that's a challenge to campaigning NGOs. We've got to make our case a lot better. And I think within the global south, I think there is a lot of excitement about it, because actually digital activism can be so empowering in itself. You can feel very directly connected to the work that you're doing. So, we were involved in corporate campaigning recently against Shell for the impacts that it has in the Niger Delta, and we got lots of people on Twitter to tweet Shell, because Shell obviously used Twitter as a kind of PR channel itself, and then getting the reaction to them actually responding to it and actually feeling that they were under so much pressure through that medium that they had to therefore engage with Amnesty in other ways. I think people really saw the use of that, and I personally was fairly sceptical, shall we say, about whether that worked or not, but it actually did. And it worked then because it was one of the first times we did it, and there'll probably probably get wise to it soon, but we'll just have to find more and more innovative ways. Yeah.
I just have one last question around, do you think it puts people at risk in the south, gathering information, using cameras, being involved in that sort of role? Do you think it's putting them at further risk of human rights abuses?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we have to be massively conscious of, and we are in all of the work that we do, the kind of duty of care we have to all of the people that we're working with. Yes, I mean, being associated with us at all in certain countries can be massively risky, and to put in, added to that, if we start providing, flooding a community with mobile phones and the newest technology, then that's not going to be...
And certain members of the community may be more likely to have access to those phones than others.
And we've had this with various different ways when we engage with a community, that yes, we get the kind of elders of that community who tend to be men as well, and there's whole issues around kind of women's access to this kind of technology too. But yes, we have to just do an assessment of that, and every time we do it, and be very conscious of that as an issue.
Well, thank you so much. If people are more interested in this issue, they just hop onto the Amnesty website?
Yep, go to our website and find out more about it. And yes, we are going to be engaging far more with kind of digital activists too, so that you can help us find some of the solutions to these problems.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. Good luck.
Cheers.
Thank you. You've been watching Vision on TV. See you next time.